Okay, so here we go again. Another screencast for you, back by popular demand. And this one covers the prospectus for the position statement. And so again, it's guided pre-writing. And again, I'm calling it prospectus because a lot of times that's the name of a proposal to write something in particular, like a position statement on behalf of an organization. And so again, this is where you show me your preliminary decisions and thoughts on this assignment. You're not setting it in stone. The topic. In the past, I think you've written a paragraph to explain your topic. Here, for the sake of simplicity and clarity, I just want you to put a single issue question. So one question should be grammatically complete and have a question mark on it. It should be debatable, like an issue always is. So for example, you might think of a general topic such as the death penalty that you want to write about. But then, you've got to get a handle on that topic by narrowing it down to a single question. Most controversies are made up of a lot of debatable questions. There are a lot of questions about the death penalty. For example, whether it's a deterrent to crime or not. Whether it makes criminals have a second thought before they commit a crime and maybe prevents crime that way. There's debate over whether that's true. So if my topic, for example, was if I was interested in the death penalty, I might narrow it down to the question of, should the state of Louisiana continue to apply the death penalty? And that really defines the scope of my position statement very clearly. I just need to answer that question thoroughly. Audience profile, I'm assuming you've looked at the overview already, and that you know that you're primarily writing for members of an organization. You're writing your position statement on behalf of the organization, and it's primarily addressed to people who belong to that organization. So it lets them know where their organization stands and maybe suggests where they should stand. There's a secondary audience of the general public, but you really should primarily be interested in working with your primary audience in mind. And so that's your main concern. If you're going to bend over backwards, it would be for the primary audience. If you're going to bend over backwards in any way, in other words, accommodate your audience in any way, it's especially that primary audience that you'll accommodate. And so I'm asking you to write a paragraph here because it's a rather complex thing. What is this organization you're writing for? You can make one up, or you can use an existing one, but you need to tell me what it's called, who they represent, what they do, where they stand on other issues maybe. Whatever you can do to describe the organization you're writing for. Motive and expectations and knowledge, I think, are familiar. We've done these before, although with knowledge, I do want you to think about both audiences. You need to think mostly about your primary audience's knowledge of the topic, which might be pretty extensive in this case. You're not writing for non-experts, maybe. But it should be something that the general public of non-experts, the secondary audience, could make sense of. Under invention, I've got places for you to almost sort of outline the argument, or at least a preliminary tentative outline. And so once you have a issue question, you develop a thesis that answers that question. It should be a sentence. It's the thesis of your position statement. And so it could be very similar to the issue question. It could almost be the same words in statement form. So if my topic was, should the state of Louisiana continue to apply the death penalty, my thesis could simply be, the state of Louisiana should continue to apply the death penalty or should not. One or the other, of course. I'm writing a one-sided argument here. Reasons, this is where you formulate some supporting ideas, which in the case of an argument take the form of reasons. You can call them because statements, because they explain why the writer has the thesis, or the organization endorses the thesis of the argument. And again, these need to be sentences because they're ideas. And I gave you several places to put because statements or reasons. That doesn't mean I'm expecting a certain number to appear in your draft. I suggest brainstorm as many reasons as you can possibly think of. The last one you think of might be the best one. But if you brainstorm more than you need, you can choose the best ones. And then I've listed some of the categories into which reasons often fall. And that's just to help you brainstorm reasons. So again, if I'm writing about the death penalty, and maybe my thesis is that the state of Louisiana should not continue to apply the death penalty, I could talk about the advantages of ending the death penalty. I could talk about the disadvantages of continuing to have the death penalty. I could talk about counter-argument, what the other side, people who disagree with me, say, and point out that my argument is somehow stronger, or their argument is inadequate. I could give legal reasons. I could talk about the Constitution, for example. Obviously, with the death penalty, I could talk about moral reasons, or religious reasons, or ethical reasons. And I could also talk about social reasons, how it affects men in particular, or how it affects people of color, for example. Now, not every issue is going to have a reason that relates to each of these categories, and I'm not looking for that. But it might just help you brainstorm and formulate some reasons. And then I'll do the usual, if necessary, I'll ask you to resubmit. If you just need to make some adjustments before you draft, I'll make that sort of comment there. And I'll give you an overall comment, bottom line right there. Okay, so that's it for the screencast. I'll talk to you later.